Hello and welcome to a new video on the channel, and welcome to my local charge station. The lovely people at Lotus PR have dropped off this Lotus Eletre R. It's going to be a little bit of a road trip video because we're going to be taking it to Salcombe in Devon for our sort of Easter break holiday. I'll just get inside. So one of the things that I'm interested about with electric cars is that people always are worried about their longest journey of the year. So EVs work pretty well if you use them every day or just going into town and you've got charging at home. But one of the things that when you're probably buying an EV is you're always worried about that big journey that you do, whether it's several times a year or once a year. Now, the trip to Salcombe is probably the worst case scenario for me as a family vehicle because it's 225 miles away from where I live in Leicestershire down to Salcombe in Devon. And the range of this vehicle, I think, I'll put it up on the screen below, is probably estimated at about 300 miles. But when it's charged at 97% as it is now, it's about 256 miles. So it's 225 miles to Salcombe. So we've got enough range to get there, no problem, but obviously I'd prefer to charge on the way in because once you get into these sort of small seaside towns, there's not an awful lot of good charging a lot of the time. So I've done a little bit of route planning. I'm going to go down the M5 like I normally do, and there's some really good 300 kilowatt chargers, Gloucester services. So I'm hoping to pick up a fair bit of charge quite quickly there once we get there. So yeah, this was dropped off probably, what was it now? We're on Sunday, so it's Easter Sunday, and this was dropped off, I think it was last Thursday. So I've had a bit of time to get used to it. I've kind of just been using the charge that it came with, and I've done quite a lot of miles and quite a lot of trips, and I've been quite impressed that it only went down to about 43%. So it's actually, range-wise, I've been really impressed. You probably could charge it once a week when you're using it regularly or using it every day. Yes, standout things so far, I just keep finding new features that it can do. The build quality in here is fantastic. The quality and the materials and the fit and feel, that's excellent. I did drive the Lotus Eletre S at Hethel, which you probably see. I'll put a link to that video. But this is the R, so this has got less range but a lot more power. So it's the fastest car in the range. It's about 120,000 pounds as well. So I mean, I'm just charging at my 150 kilowatt charger close to my house because the 300 kilowatt ones weren't available. They're closed because it's Easter Sunday. So the closest one I've got here is this 150 kilowatt charger. Initially, when you plug it in, it gives you it was at about 42%, and it gives you this horrific figure of about 1 hour 45 or 1 hour 50 minutes to charge. But that does tumble down quite quickly. So I think the first thing I've learned is don't worry about the amount of time that it tells you that it's going to charge when you first plug it in, because it seems to drop quite quickly in terms of the amount of time that it is going to take. I don't think that's necessarily the number of kilowatts that it's pumping out, because it did start at about 71 kilowatts on the charge and then it went up to about 110. Now we're into the last part of the charge at 94% and it's dropped down to 40 kilowatts. So it's going quite slowly, and I know from my experience with EVs, from what I've read, that the last part of the charge is quite hard to get into the battery. So far it's all been good. I'm really impressed with the car in terms of the luxury and the features that it's got in it. I've found the massage seats, and so it's really quite nice to have a car for a bit longer and actually do a road trip like this, because you're finding out all of the nuances of the car and all of the extra features and functionalities that it's got that you might not find out if you just got it for the weekend. But anyway, I'm just going to finish off my charge and then I'll catch up with you hopefully when we're on the road to Salcombe. Okay, so about to leave Gloucester services after we've walked the dog, and it's worked out really well. I've already had to move the car into a normal space because it's fully charged. So we've only been here about half an hour or so, and it went to 82% to 100%. So great, really efficient. We even had time to have a brie and bacon toastie. Welcome to Salcombe. It's a lovely day here and the weather is fantastic. It's the next day and it turned out it was a 253 mile journey. At least that's what it said on Google Maps. Google Maps also predicted that it was a 4 hour 22 minute journey, but it turned out to be 7.5 hours. But none of that was down to the car by any stretch of the imagination. It was just that we stopped 3 times. Only one of those was kind of a top-up charge, which I'll talk about in a minute. I had a little bit of range anxiety because I was worried that there'd be lots of queuing at the chargers and that sort of thing. I was kind of predicting worst case scenario, but none of that actually materialised. At every stop that we stopped for charge, we just rolled straight into a charger. There was always one free. And that was very reassuring because I did choose and kind of plotted I think part of it was down to the planning because I did choose and plot where I was going to charge. So a little bit of forward planning is a good idea. I went for the super fast chargers, at least 150 kilowatts all the way through to 300 kilowatts, and kind of mapped those out along the M5, so I knew I was going to be able to stop where they had a lot of chargers and also stop where there were quick ones as well. So from my house to Gloucester services, which was going to be the first stop, is 106 miles. But we actually decided, more because we needed the toilet, to stop early, Streatham services. By that point, we were on 62%, so still pretty good battery-wise. We only charged it for 20 minutes there, just while we were in the services, getting a drink and using the toilet. And it went from 62% to 84% in 20 minutes, which was pretty impressive. So then we went on to Gloucester services, which was only 18 miles further, where we wanted to get some food and where I originally planned to charge it as well. And then that was a great charge, again straight into the chargers, brand new chargers, pretty quick. I think they were up to 150 kilowatt, and I'm pretty sure they were maxing out at that and they were doing well because we went from 81% to the full 100% in less than 30 minutes, so that was really reassuring. So by that point, sort of 106 miles into the journey with still 144-ish to go, we had 100% charge. So really we could have easily made it to Salcombe then without charging again, but the next stop was the only stop that was a little bit inconvenient, but again no fault of the car at all because we could have easily got here with the charge that we had. But because in Salcombe there are only 2 chargers and they're only 22 kilowatt and they're always quite busy, not super busy but quite busy, I kind of wanted to stop again to make sure that we had some kind of travelling around charge while we were actually based here. So the final stop before we got into Salcombe was a place called Strawberry Fields, which is, it's not a garden centre, it's kind of a farm shop, and it's got an Osprey sort of hub charges of 300 kilowatts an hour. But unfortunately they weren't performing at that speed. They were doing, I think it was 71 kilowatts an hour. So we went from about 51% and I think we got it up to about 82, 84 in about the 20-25 minutes or so that we were there. By the time we got here, we're still on 80%, so we've still got over, I think, around 200 miles range to use while we're down here for round and about. So yeah, so that's pretty good. But as it's turned out, the car has been absolutely fantastic. The charging has been really straightforward. All of the interfaces inside the car that tell you what's happening, how you paid for it as well, that you just tapped your phone, your card. I know this all sounds very simple, but previously you've had to have an app and that kind of stuff, and that sort of ridiculous stuff of the charging network seems to be disappearing thing where you just make a transaction just like you would do with any other transaction. Tap your phone next to the machine and away you go. And like I say, the systems inside the car make it really obvious what's going on, and the graphics and everything are really cool and really intuitive. So overall, the car is absolutely fantastic. The boot's a lot bigger than my Audi A4. Obviously, it's a bigger size car, but we managed to fit everything in. We brought way too much. Obviously, we're a family of 4 with 2 teenagers, so we brought too much stuff, but it all still fitted in the car with the dog as well, and everybody was comfortable. There's lots of space in the back. It's a lot wider inside and very spacious interior compared with most cars like the Taycan or Audi A4s and Audi A6s and stuff like that. But I shouldn't really be comparing it to those because they're estate cars, not SUVs. So loads of space inside, loads of comfort, amazingly luxury interior as well. So yeah, so my pluses so far are the comfort, the big boot. I love the massage seats as well. They were great on the way down. That really helped. The seats are really comfortable. It rides really nicely over the bumps as well. I thought it was going to be a bit big and a bit wide because there were, I'll probably put some B-roll in here, there were some hairily narrow lanes on the way into Salcombe, but the car isn't actually that much wider than fairly regular conventional cars. It's very long, but it's not that much of a problem actually threading it through small B roads, which that was a pleasant surprise. And the camera sensors all around make it so much easier than driving an older car that hasn't got that stuff. I was really impressed with the range prediction on the screen because I'd got Apple CarPlay, which works really well. We can have multiple phones connected as well, which was brilliant. But I got Apple CarPlay working with Google Maps, and I was kind of plotting the distance on Google Maps to the destination versus the range, and the range on the car was coming down at the same range as the actual distance on Google Maps. So the prediction is really accurate. You can really, as long as you're driving it and not driving it hairily. I mean, obviously it's the R model, so if you're driving it really fast, that's going to knock your range quite a bit. But I was quite pleasantly surprised how good, the way I was driving it for a long journey, how accurate next to Google Maps the range prediction actually was. So that's a big plus. So anyway, going to get out there and enjoy the sun. It was kind of predicted that it was going to rain this week, but it hasn't really. Well, it rained a little bit last night, but it's not rained in the day, and we've got glorious sunshine. So going to get out and have a look around. We're back. So you find me the next day. We're back from Devon, from Salcombe, and we made it quite an uneventful trip. You find me at my local Shell recharge station. I did try to do this video earlier at my local garden centre, but the phone Bluetooth connected to the car, so I got absolutely no audio. So I did it really well in one take, but I got no audio, so I've got to do it again now. And also I need to top the car up because the lovely guy from Lotus PR is coming tomorrow to pick the car up, and I wanted to make sure it was fully charged for him. So I'm just doing a little bit of a top up. So I thought that was a great opportunity to kind of give you a roundup of the video and sort of talk about a few different things about using the Eletre R on the trip to Devon. So I've had the car for about 13 days now, and I've done, I think, around about 700 miles. It was 253 down there, 253 back, but also we went out to the beach in the car, and I did a few trips backwards and forwards before we went, and a few trips for filming and stuff. So I think it's about 700 miles or so that I've done, and I've worked out, I've added up all of the charges that I've done apart from this one, and we got back with about 50% or so, and I've worked it out that I've spent about £224.08 on charging in the 13 days that I've had the car with 700 miles. Now that sounds like a lot, but it's not so much the car, it's the fact that public charging is quite expensive. I know Harry Metcalf from Harry's Garage said he wasn't that impressed with the efficiency of this car, because it does about 2 miles or probably a little bit more per kilowatt hour. So that does seem not super efficient, but or as efficient as some. But for £224 on public chargers, I've done 700 miles, as I said. Now, I worked that out as being about 32 pence a mile, which when I did a sort of a Google search on that, it said about 35 pence per mile on a public charger was about what to be expected. So I'm kind of almost bang on there. But it did say that you could do it for about 14 pence a mile if you were charging on your home charger, because it's a 112 kilowatt hour battery. So to home charge, it looks as though it's about half price to charge. So that sort of £224 that I paid would have been, if I charged it at home, would have been about £112, which then really makes it quite a good cost-effective car to run. When you think, if you got this car, you're pretty rich anyway, but if you were charging it at home, you're also running it for quite a cheap price as well, at 14 pence a mile. So I think that's pretty good. So to home charge it, it would cost you to fully charge the 112 kilowatt battery, it would cost you £31.36. My Audi takes about £68 to fill it up with a full tank of petrol, which probably does about 330 miles, something like that. So more miles, but twice the price. So I don't know whether I'm quoting too many figures here, but basically to fully charge it, £31 at home, I think that's pretty good. And to get 14p a mile on a home charger, half the price of the public chargers, I think that makes it pretty cost effective to run, which is surprising with a big 2.5 ton SUV. So yeah, charge at home, people. So to give a bit of a roundup then of the car itself, I've absolutely loved having this car for this amount of time. I think normally I have cars on loan for a maximum of about a week. This has been 13 days, and it's really allowed me to kind of get into the nitty gritty, and doing a long road trip with it as well has allowed me to kind of understand some of the features and functionality which probably you don't notice when you first have it or have it for a few days. I think things like going through the different drive modes, I think for the trip, range was the best option, because it did obviously improve the range, that's what it's for, but it did match the distance remaining, or the range, with the Google Maps. I had Google Maps running for the journey, and I could see that the distance for the journey was coming down miles wise at the same rate as our range was. So the range prediction is really accurate to the actual miles that you're traveling. So I was really impressed with that. I think I was really impressed in Devon. Obviously you always end up on those really narrow roads which are a little bit scary, and I've been scared before in those in my Audi A4 Avant, but that hasn't got any cameras. And even though this is slightly wider, it's not massively wider, it's a lot longer, but even though it's wider, because you've got these really great cameras and you can kind of get as close to a hedge in a passing place as possible, knowing that you're not going to hit the wheels or your paintwork, it just takes the stress out of it a little bit. So initially you're thinking, oh crikey, I'm in this enormous car on these narrow lanes, but then all the systems in here and the bings and the bongs and the cameras make it really relaxing in terms of actually driving on those narrow lanes. So that was really impressed with that. That was great. I was impressed with the comfort of the seats as well. heated, cooled, and also the massage function. Massage function on a 250-mile journey came in really handy. That was really useful, and cooling and heating as well. Again, you can't really go back from that. That was brilliant and really good for this journey. Lots of space in the back for the kids and the dog as well, so that was really comfortable for them. And they've got a screen here, so they can 2 USB-Cs. There's USB-Cs in here as well. There's a wireless charger, so all the things that you need for the family. They can control their music and heat their seats and cool their seats as well, so they were really impressed with that. The panoramic roof as well makes it nice and airy, and you can, that sort of, I think it's photochromatic, is it? You can change the opacity of that, and it does it automatically as well. But again, that really helped. My daughter gets car sick and normally has to sit in the front, but because it's all quite light and airy, she was all right with that. The ride as well is fantastic on the motorway. It eats up the bumps really nicely, and it's nice and smooth. I did find when I drove the Range Rover, the new Range Rover, which I'll put a link to in the description here, a year or so ago, I found that really boaty and really wallowy. But this isn't at all. The composure of the body with the active dampers, and what is it called? Yeah, the R's got active roll control and active anti-roll bars as well, which, yeah, the composure of the body and the ride, so I'm impressed with that. What else we got? I think the charging information is fantastic. I think my experience with electric cars with the Taycan was only marred not by the Porsche itself, but by the charging network. And the charging network has improved so much, because a couple of years ago you had to have a different app for every different system. Now they all just work. You just plug it in and you tap your card or your phone with Apple Pay, and it just works automatically, just how it should do. Sounds simple, but it should have always done that, and it's just like a regular transaction. And then the charger tells you the percentage that the car needs. The car tells you that as well. You've got a graphic on here that shows how much it's charging and how fast it's charging. I love the small instrument display on here. It tells me it's fast charging. It tells me the miles per hour that it's charging at. And yeah, just the graphic and everything is just really simple and intuitive to use, and I love that. I didn't really use the self-drive. You have to put your hand on the wheel anyway, so I think the fact that this is future-proof with LiDAR, that will really come into its own when those sort of like level 5 autonomy becomes the norm. And this is very future-proofed as well. I think for a family trip, it had a lovely balance between what Dad likes, Lotus, Porsche, that kind of stuff, and also what the family like as well. I can have a little bit of what I love, which is a brand that I love, and the heritage and the feel of that. And the family can have all of the features and functionality as well. So it works great for a car enthusiast like me and somebody with the responsibilities of having a family and doing a big trip to Devon. And that balance has been great. If I was in something that wasn't as an exciting a brand as Lotus, it wouldn't do anything for me. But it's a great dad's car, basically. A dad's car who likes cars. Yeah, and you won't feel as though you're compromising their experience at all. I think the fact that this has got the 800 volt electric architecture, and the fact that it can plug in and charge at 300 or 350 or something like that, that is amazing. That's a game changer in terms of how quickly you can charge this thing. I think on the way back we stopped up at Gloucester services. I think Gloucester services charges are brilliant. They're really fast. The journey back, I think I probably didn't plan it as much as the journey down there. I think I knew where all of the really fast chargers were on the way down, and then there was lots of traffic on the way back. It was quite congested, which meant we had to stop to use the toilet at services that I hadn't looked into. And we got there and it had loads of Tesla chargers, but 2 slow chargers, and one of them didn't work at all. So I think it can catch you out like that if you're not careful. We're okay because we did have enough charge, and plenty of charge actually, and we got to Gloucester services. Switching off the ADAS every time is a little bit of a pain, but that's not really Lotus's fault. It would be good, maybe I could program one of the steering wheel controls to make that a little bit quicker, because there's a few things you have to go through in the menu, but other than that, that's fine. I think the other thing that's great about the back as well is that the floor is quite flat in the back, so that And obviously there's an awful lot of leg room as well, so that's really good. That's a big advantage. It feels really spacious, and the seats are really rounded on the back, so they kind of fall away from the person in the back. So it feels like you've got quite a lot of space in the back there. So I think that adds to that spaciousness and airy feel, as well as the roof. It's amazing how much the connectivity made a difference to the family journey, because normally when we've had CarPlay before, you could connect one CarPlay phone but only one, whereas this easily allows you to connect two phones. Well, we probably more, but we've tried two phones, and we had my daughter playing her music on CarPlay through Spotify, and I was using my Google Maps through my phone on CarPlay, so I had two connected at the same time. So we've never had that before, and again, from a kind of a family point of view, her music, my sat nav, that was the perfect combo. So it's just little things like that that really make a difference to the experience. And all of this infotainment is really futuristic, beautiful graphics, easy to understand, and it's really impressed my kids. They think it's pretty neat. I think and I think the seamlessness of this infotainment system is a big part of the user experience of this. I think at the moment this car can charge quicker than any of the chargers. I think even the 300 kilowatt chargers that I found, they didn't perform to the level that you expected them to. They were, 100 kilowatts an hour, 120 kilowatts an hour, so they were a little bit slow. This can go a lot faster. So I think as the network catches up with this car, I think once they do start to perform at that 350 kilowatt speed, it's going to be great. It's going to be even more of a game changer, I think. So to sum up then, I think this has been the perfect car for the long journey. I think I suppose the brief of this video was, okay, we know now that we can use an EV with a home charger, and we know we can use it for round and about, and maybe charge it once a week and do short trips and everyday sort of stuff. But the big thing that stops us buying EVs or worrying about buying EVs is the fact that those 1 or 2 or 3 journeys we do a year where we go a really long distance, like to Devon from where we are in the Midlands, is an electric car going to do it? And I could say, yeah, this definitely does. It is £120,000, but they do start at 80. But yeah, you can use this for those kind of journeys. So it's a car that will work for everything that you do. So that's my sum up. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and you found it interesting, and it gave you some insights into what it's like to kind of use a Electra for this kind of long journey. I've got another review video of it. It's either gone up before this or after this, so you can check out the sort of more regular type review that I do of the car. But yeah, what a great car. I'm really impressed with it. I would have it tomorrow if Lotus will just let me keep it. That would be lovely. But yeah, it's great for me, so great for a car enthusiast, and also great for the family. So anyway, thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you get the chance, and hit the notification bell as it lets you know when I produce new videos. Plenty more videos to come, so thanks for watching, and bye for now.
At 29 and I find myself wondering what did happen to the last 10. I ran away with my life, fast forward, never turn back again. It's kind of funny that the moment